They're everywhere. Nearly 400 Transportation America vehicles shuttling more than 30,000 of Miami-Dade's disabled under a $208 million county contract. But when NBC6 investigators showed County Transit Director Yisela Yort how the contract was being managed,
why would this happen?
Actually, I don't know what's happened.
she ordered a review.
We need to go back and look at the contract and how some of these numbers were calculated.
That was March. Fast forward to June, and a review of thousands of documents by NBC6 investigators reveals the full extent of the county's mistakes over a 17-month period when TA billed the county $65 million. The county overpaid TA $120,000 over 6 months ending last May. The county failed to bill TA another $85,000, apparently not realizing it was owed the money. Add up all the mistakes going back to when the contract began, and it's the county who owes TA more than $151,000 through late March.
Isn't that mismanagement?
Absolutely not.
Longtime government watchdog Daniel Rinker has another view.
Is that mismanagement?
Yeah, monies is not being collected. There's a disparity.
Yort said the mistakes uncovered by NBC6 investigators would have been found eventually.
You know, every once in a while there are adjustments that need to be made. This is one of those cases, and we've made that adjustment.
And if we hadn't come forward and brought this to your attention, what would have happened?
It probably would have taken a little longer to get to the same point. But we appreciate that you brought it to us sooner than we would have found it on our own. Thank you.
That's their get out of jail card. Oh, well, we would have caught it eventually or whatever. I don't think so. I think that's kind of a standard bureaucratic line.
The main problem, county staff could not figure out how to do cost of living adjustments. In this email last summer, Yort's paratransit chief admits, "I am at a loss in this topic." Now Transportation America will get the money it deserves under the contract.
Permanent handicap placards are issued to people with legitimate disabilities to make life a little easier. But watch what our investigation found outside of a gym in Hialeah. We showed our video to cardiologist Dr. Gilbert Concepcion.
It bothers me because it's a blatant abuse.
A 2-month-long investigation revealed how outside these apparently able-bodied gym goers nabbed handicap spots in this crowded parking lot.
¿Su permiso de discapacidad ese?
Is this your handicap permit?
Who do you think it belongs to?
No, lo que pasa-
Don't you see me with the keys?
Inside, they lift weights and do ab exercises, even play racquetball as this man did on at least 2 occasions. He tells me he had surgery a while back from injuries he got playing racquetball, which he has apparently recovered from enough to resume the sport, and not to walk to a parking space far from the front door.
There's no gray zone here.
That's the reaction we got from the doctor when we showed him this gentleman's video.
He may have had a temporary disability at the time of surgery, if indeed that's what he had, but certainly he has not manifested any disability while he's playing racquetball or walking without any type of limitation to his car.
People with temporary disabilities can get a 6-month placard, but this man's placard was permanent. Recipients must meet strict criteria, and doctors who fill out the application are entrusted with making sure they do. The permanent placards are for the legally blind or for someone with a permanent disability that limits or impairs his or her ability to walk 200 feet. Other qualifying disabilities include inability to walk without a brace, a cane, crutch, prosthetic device, the need to permanently use a wheelchair, people who must use portable oxygen or have a severe cardiac condition. Dr. Concepcion says he strictly adheres to the mandatory criteria.
Some patients have even gotten upset with me because they think that the fact that they had a heart attack or they had a heart procedure in the past makes them eligible for the handicap permit, and indeed most patients don't.
Now, there's plenty of reasons to want a permit. You usually get to park close to the front door, and sometimes parking lots that charge allow people with the handicap placards to park for free. How would someone get a permit without really needing it?
Sometimes doctors in their busy schedule continue to extend disabilities without really checking.
And sometimes, as we found out, some people borrow their relative's permit, like this young man whom we later saw lifting weights.
Is that your handicap parking?
My dad's.
Okay, why are you parking in handicap This is for people who are coming here to have therapy.
Why am I being recorded?
Why are you using a handicap sticker that's not yours?
It infuriates me. It's a gross abuse of that privilege.
The criminals use satirical videos like this to recruit hackers from all over the world. According to the Secret Service, the sole purpose to build an army of hackers who can steal information, including credit card numbers from unsuspecting Americans, and steal their cash.
It could be more profitable than, drug trafficking and less probability of being caught.
Experts say the hackers are a global organization based not only in Russia and China, but other countries in Asia as well.
They might have people working in 15 different countries, or, they might be in Venezuela, in Brazil, in Nigeria.
Hackers are on the ground floor of the organization. They're the ones who penetrate sophisticated computer networks at chains like Target, Home Depot, and Neiman Marcus. Once they've snatched customers' private information, they act quickly as the data's shelf life is short. They log on to underground networks to sell the information before the security breach is discovered and neutralized.
The value of the information will decline, because if it's like credit card information, after a few days, those credit cards probably are going to start being canceled.
That's when buyers come in.
You can sign right there.
They're on the next tier of the multi-layer organization. Their job is to turn the stolen data into cash.
They have to quickly convert that into something, either making copies of credit cards to make purchases, maybe of electronics, or maybe of, gift cards.
In 2010, 3 Russian men, Artur Kalatyan, Igor Shrishak, and Erdem Daisetapov, were arrested and charged with grand theft. The Broward Sheriff's Office said they used cloned credit cards at 3 South Florida Home Depot stores. The Secret Service was called in to investigate. Weeks later, Miami Beach police arrested Alexei Satilov from Estonia after they found $12,420 in the car he was driving. According to this internal memo we obtained, Satilov confessed that the money belonged to an organized crime group. He was responsible for continuously re-encoding cards with checking account information stolen from ATM machines and emptying the checking accounts. The currency would then be wired out of the country. The investigation concluded that the criminal activity laundered over $1.5 million using a bank account in San Francisco. Experts say bringing the perpetrators to justice is tricky.
Each country has their own laws, their own ways of prosecuting these things.
That means extraditing criminals is not always easy. In the U.S., the Secret Service goes after these hackers because they threaten our financial infrastructure. According to this expert, that's not the only threat.
It could be used in war. I think it could be used by terrorist groups.
My agreement is void.
Meet Susan Rodolfi and Nick Matthews. Neither homeowner has paid the mortgage for more than 5 years. Both still live in their homes and may do so permanently without making mortgage payments, thanks to something called the statute of limitations. Rodolfi, who used to invest in real estate, bought her place near Coconut Grove 14 years ago. But when the financial crisis struck in 2008, business dried up, and with it, the main source for her house payments.
I would fall back a little bit, I would make up a little bit, and there was a lot of back and forth with the bank.
In 2009, her lender foreclosed, claiming she then owed more than $277,000, and launching a 6-year legal odyssey that, if Rodolfi prevails, could end with her in her house with no mortgage to pay. She would not be alone.
From what I understand, these people, the banks are getting kicked out of court, and people are living in their houses.
People like Matthews, who lost his job in 2007 and hasn't paid a penny on his nearly $190,000 mortgage since. Yet, he still lives in his condo. The reason? Some judges have ruled the lender's right to sue expires 5 years after they first filed for foreclosure. So if the lenders lost their foreclosure cases and haven't brought another one in 5 years, homeowners like Rodolfi and Matthews get to stay.
We learned that there is an actual statute of limitations on these kind of things, 5 years from the initial filing.
Not so, banks argue, saying that the 5-year clock restarts every time a borrower misses a payment. Now it's up to the Florida Supreme Court to decide, but for now at least,
They don't have a right to this property, apparently.
Apparently not.
real estate attorney Roy Oppenheim has helped Matthews and others retain their homes by obtaining this, a dismissal due to statute of limitations having run. But he cautions the rulings do not apply to just anyone who stops paying a mortgage.
Is the house yours?
No, a lot has to happen before that. First of all, you have to win your case.
But if you do win,
The bank is SOL.
The bank is SOL.
Do you think you've done anything wrong?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it seems kind of un-American, honestly, if they can keep coming at me for something they've already lost on twice.
as for Rodolfi, a court reinstated her foreclosure, which she is appealing, hoping it all works out in her favor.
I'd like to get my life back in order, get my credit back in order, and continue to be able to do some business that I'd like to do.
Experts say this is how a guardrail is supposed to work. Peeling the metal away from your car and eventually causing it to stop.
I was the one driving.
That's not what happened to Luke Robinson.
It's the most helpless I've ever felt and the most terrified I've ever seen my children.
Robinson, who lives with his wife and 3 kids near Orlando, was driving along the Virginia-Tennessee border when he swerved and hit the beginning of a guardrail. It pierced the car through the rear passenger seat, where his 3-year-old son was sitting.
His pelvic bone was cracked in 2 places, and they were very worried about internal damage in his head.
A similar situation for Lena and Shane Tucker in Texas, who were married for more than 20 years. It all ended on this highway 2 years ago, shortly after Shane left for work.
Gave me a kiss goodbye and said, "See you later, love you."
Just minutes later, Shane was killed when his car hit a guardrail. It impaled the car and sliced right through his body.
I learned that my husband probably should have walked away from the accident.
They're 2 of more than a dozen families who filed lawsuits against Dallas-based Trinity Highway Products, one of the world's largest guardrail makers. Experts say in its original design, the guardrail can be a lifesaver. But changing its design even slightly can turn it into a dangerous projectile. Back in 2005, the company made small, cost-saving changes to its guardrail model called the ET Plus. And even though it was required, the company never told the federal government about the change, which reduced the dimensions of the end of the guardrail from 5 inches down to 4 inches.
This is a 4-inch model.
This new model is nearly 3 times more likely to kill someone than the old model, according to a University of Alabama study.
Let's put it this way. It's the difference between life and death.
Josh Harmon is a Trinity competitor. He also blew the whistle on the company by filing a federal false claims lawsuit against it and won. Last month, a jury ordered the company to pay $175 million in damages to be split by Harmon and the federal government.
For people who drive these roads every day, should they be concerned?
Tomorrow they can fail and tomorrow they can kill.
There are more than 200,000 of these altered guardrails across the country. Team 6 investigators learned many of them line the roadways of South Florida, from this intersection in Davie to the sides of the Sawgrass Expressway.
This could be a dangerous guardrail.
This is deadly.
But as for just how many are actually in Florida, state road officials say they don't know. They haven't kept track. In a statement, the Florida Department of Transportation says they're taking inventory of the state's guardrails to find out. After the verdict, the feds ordered Trinity to perform new crash tests, which are underway right now. Our Team 6 investigation shows Florida is now one of 44 states over just the past few weeks that stopped installing the guardrails until the new crash tests are complete. Virginia is the only state that is removing the guardrails.
Should the state of Florida be doing more to protect drivers right now?
Yes, I think all the states need to take an active role.
In a statement, the president of Trinity says, "We have confidence in the ET Plus system as designed and crash tested by Texas A&M Transportation Institute. It has met all tests previously required. We take the safety of the products we manufacture very seriously." As for the verdict, Trinity says the decision will not withstand legal scrutiny.
This isn't some kind of game. These are people's lives.
Harmon and the families involved now want all of these guardrails pulled out nationwide, claiming drivers aren't safe until the metal's off the roads.
That needs to be ended and stopped now, before this happens to another family and another family and another child.